Welcome in the 7th episode. Today we will add navigation mesh to our game. If you want to help support this channel, hit the subscribe button below this video, turn on notification so you will not miss any future episode I release. So as you can see, currently we have in our game grid and we can spawn some balls in the random position. Today we're going to add the navigation mesh so we can click on the ball and then move the ball in different square. So for this purpose we're going to use the navigation mesh. So first of all, in your project we need to import one more package as the navigation mesh has been changed since I released the game. So now is on the separate package which you have to add. So go to the window and then package manager, go to the Unity registry and search for the navigation. You will find a package called AI navigation. You have to install this package. Select the package, hit install. Okay, we can close the window now. The package is installed. And now, once you added the package, we can use the navigation surface. So let's go to our scene folder and then game scene. And now let's create new game object. So right click, create empty, and I will call it nav mesh. And now let's select the nav mesh and then add component. Let's scroll and go under the navigation and let's select the nav mesh surface. And now from the object collection, let's select collect objects to be set to current object hierarchy. So the navigation mesh will take only the children of itself to create the nav mesh. And then make sure for the use geometry, just select the render mesh. So the render meshes will be taken under the consideration. Once you've done that, now we can add the game object and we can position our mesh. So let me explain the concept. So creating navigation mesh is very simple. You can just create a plane and then add nav mesh component and then hit the bake. But this will not be fine for our game. We want our ball to move from the square to square. We don't want our ball to move in the diagonal position, for example, somewhere like that, or like in the circle, or any other route. We want the ball to jump from one square to the other, so going just in the straight line. So in that purpose, we have to create the custom geometry to just cover the entire grid and have the custom navigation mesh. That's the reason we're going to add some new elements now. So let's run the game and make sure you can see the grid. And under our nav mesh, while you're playing the game, just right click on the nav mesh and let's go to the 3D objects and then create the cube. Okay, doesn't matter what its name, and let's switch to the scene view. So as you see, we have our cube, and now we can move it and we can change its size. So first of all, let's change the material. We're gonna change from the default material, and I will just scroll down and I will just select any other material you have available for yourself. I will select this pink, but it doesn't really matter. You just need to have something different than the board. So I can see my square now. Let's switch to the game view and I can see my my square. So if you can't see it, just change the Y position, because this is basically, as you see, when I'm changing the Y position, I cannot see it. I will set the Y position to 1, so it's always on the top. And now we need to position this square in the middle of our grid square. So let's start from the top row. I will move this square up, and I will scale it on the Z to cover entire grid. So let's move it a bit to the side like that, and let's scale it a bit more and a bit more. Okay, I think that looks OK. So let's change the scale on the X as well. So I will just put 1.5. So we have a bit bigger line. So our ball actually can fit in it. So let's now duplicate the object. So select the cube, right click, duplicate. And now let's move the duplication a bit down. So this is going to be on the X, and let's cover another row. So as you see, if we scale this in, if we bring it a bit in front, so you see we're just placing these lines in between on the actually grid. So the line between is not covered by that geometry. So now let's duplicate this object again and move it down for another row. And then again to move it down on another row. And then we need to cover the entire grid like that. Okay, so we have we covered the row. Now we need to cover the column. So I will just duplicate the last object, and let's actually name it something different so we know where we're starting. So I will just put maybe underscore. And now we need to rotate this object by 90 degrees. Okay, and now we're going to cover all of the columns. So let's move it to the side. Let's actually move it here and then move it to the side. Right, okay. And now we can actually zoom in so we can better see. And now we need to cover all of the columns. So let's duplicate this and move it. Move it here. Okay, so our grid looks okay. So as you see, I have covered all of the rows and the columns. And now just be careful because we are in the play mode. So as soon as you stop your game, all of the objects which you just created will be destroyed. So we don't want to do that. In order to save those changes, I will copy the first all of the cubes. Just select all of them, right click and then copy. And now when you stop your game, you can actually select the nav mesh. As you see, the object has been destroyed, and then right click on the nav mesh and then paste as a child, okay, or paste. If you paste, you need to actually move it so it's a children of the nav mesh, but I will just select paste as a child. And now we have our all of the objects back. So now we can create our navigation mesh based on the geometry we have just created. So first of all, let's switch to our scene view, and then let's select the navigation. Under the surface, just make sure you have show nav mesh selected so you can see actually the navigation mesh. If you can't see this, make sure you have your gizmo enabled. And then under the script, make sure you have the navigation selected. All of the navigation surface is selected on the gizmo, so you can see this. And now let's select our nav mesh, and you can hit bake. So once you hit bake, you will see our navigation mesh has been created, but it's not perfect. Actually, I think the size of the navigation mesh in between the grid squares is a bit too tiny for our ball to fit in. So if you will just leave it like that, if you have a ball in the middle of the square, then the ball will not be able to move because it won't be fit in the between the connection. So to change that, we need to change the agent. So under our nav mesh surface, you have the agent type. Let's currently set to humanoid. Let's actually open agent settings, and you will see another pop-up. I will dock it here. And now let's actually name this ball, not humanoid. And let's change our radius to something smaller, maybe 0.1. And now because we changed the size of the radius of the agent, we can now actually go back to our navigation mesh, hit clear, and then bake. As you see, the geometry changed, but it's not what we want to have. So let's change that radius to 0.2. Let's test it. Let's actually test this a bit. So 0.4 works. We need to find the perfect number. And I think 0.3 is good fit. So you see our grid is pretty much covered. Maybe let's go a bit smaller, 0.25. Let's see how this looks. I think that looks good, 0.22. Yeah, I think that will do it. So we have the white connection between the squares. And now if we actually press play, you will see our geometry is still alive. So I will just select all of the cubes and then hide it, just disable it. And now in our scene view, you can see we have our grid and is actually pretty much covered the entire screen. It's going a bit out of the bound, but this is going out of the bound in the scene view, which is not correct because it's rendering on the top. If we hit this square in the middle on the camera, on the view, and you will see this in the 2D mode is actually covering the entire screen. There was an illusion because we've been rendering in 3D. So you see our grid is covered entirely by our navigation mesh. So the ball will be able to be moved from this position to the next position. If this connection is not wide enough and the ball can't fit, then you obviously need to modify your agent and then change the navigation, change the radius so you have the wider connection. So now this is the navigation mesh. Let's stop it. And now let's actually select all of the cubes. Let's disable it. And let's leave it like that so we can't see the cubes in the game. And our navigation mesh is created now. And I think we will be ready to go to the next step where we will implement the logic actually to move our ball from one position to another using our navigation mesh, so the ball will find its way. So hopefully this video was clear enough and was easy for you. So I will see you again in the next video.